Yeah, and this week's episode, I kind of forgot to mention this in the intro, is going to be a little bit different than the ones that we've had in the past so far. So today we're going to have Skylar Mead, the head baseball coach at Troy University, on, and then we're also going to have Kyle Briscoe, who is the head baseball coach at Downers Grove North, on, and he also coaches football. I don't know what exactly his role with the football team is. I don't know if you want to correct me there or give some insight, but um, so we're going to have multiple interviews, and it's going to be less kind of prospect talk today like we have in the past. But really good interviews we have scheduled here, and I'm super excited to get into it with them and talk about their teams, talk about their careers, things like that. So transitioning though
Well, and
quickly.
Gavin,
Yeah, sorry,
before
go
you
ahead.
transition, I think we're continuing to try to go down the path here with this podcast with our guests that we're bringing on to continue the variety. We've brought on Tim Funkhauser, a head baseball coach. We brought on Owen Murphy. We brought on Ryan Copeland. We're going to bring back on a head baseball coach at a, college program in Skylar Mead. And then we're going to also bring on Kyle Briscoe, who's a high school coach. So to me, that's when we were talking about this whole revamping and what we wanted to do. Like, I want to continue to bring variety to who we're bringing on here, but at the same time, like, still they're hopefully all people that can help impact what's going on here in Illinois. So that's
And
just I like it. I think we're going to continue to getting podcast guests is it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's a challenge that I've never had to experience before. So it's something that we're striving for, and we'll just continue to push the envelope and see who all we can get.
yeah, and I think the thing with it too that I was just thinking about kind of over the weekend is like how, like, with this episode specifically, like, it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, where we have more interviews, and I think that's good. Like, as a listener, you get to come in and you're not always expecting the same thing, but you're also kind of expecting something that's relatively similar. So I don't know. I think it'll be a good episode, and I'm excited to hear what both of those coaches have to say, because I know they have some awesome insights for us. But Tyler, as usual, baseball news, not a ton over the weekend, but what do you got for us?
Thanks, Gav. First thing is, yeah, it's kind of been slow with the hot stove. If you've been following MLB, there's not been a ton of moves. Expect that to maybe change next week when the winter meetings start in Dallas. That's just usually when all the agents, all the GMs, all the owners are all kind of in one place, and deals tend to happen during that. But a big signing last week was Blake Snell to the Dodgers. This was a big deal because it's just the rich getting richer in Major League Baseball, and there's mixed opinions on both sides of the aisle whether or not this is good for the sport. But regardless, we're not a MLB podcast, so we probably won't get too in the weeds there. But just the details on it, was a 5-year, $182 million deal. Snell was awesome last year. He was Cy Young, I think, the year before that, or 2 years ago. So that's all for me on the baseball news, Gav.
Yeah,
I
and
have one that
go
just
ahead.
popped up this morning, Gavin, and I'd
All
be
right.
curious if you guys know anything on this guy. But Matthew Boyd just signed a 2-year deal with the Cubs.
Yeah, he started
Was
a playoff game for the Guardians
yeah,
this past postseason.
fill me in here. We paid him 2 years. I mean, starter, left-handed. Is the ERA looked good from last year? I was just briefly going through some stats, but I know you're talking big baseball news. I'm focused here on Chicago baseball. What are we going to be doing here to improve these two clubs? So I was just curious if any of you guys had seen anything on Matthew Boyd or knew anything more on him than me, but I guess we'll find out.
No, he's definitely starting depth for you guys. He pitched for the Tigers.
Yeah, all right. Well, getting over here to our rankings now. We're not going to go too deep in the weeds with it. So 2 weeks ago, we updated our 2025 rankings. This week, or we took the break from Thanksgiving, and then now this week we're going to the 2026 rankings update. And we're probably going to talk more about this, I would say, next week, as after we kind of look through some of these prospects and kind of dig into our rankings and our order, because it's not entirely solidified yet. We still have some guys to discuss through, but I don't know if anybody off the top has anyone they want to talk about. I know Ethan Bass, we saw him at the All-American game. Like, is there anybody that you guys want to quickly chat through, or maybe even just our process for this next update?
I don't have a player in particular to talk about. I was kicking myself listening to last week's episode when we did kind of get a little into the weeds on rankings and not hopping in here because I think Drew does a great job at our showcases giving this message to all the players that are in attendance. Like, don't let your ranking or if you're not ranked affect how you view yourself as a player. From personal experience, I played high school ball in Ohio and I was not ranked in the PBR system. And you can bet I used that as a chip on my shoulder throughout high school. And uh, in a later episode, we'll probably touch on all of our baseball backgrounds. And I'm not going to do all of that right here. But, I ended up going on to have a 5-year playing career in college. Like, your ranking isn't everything and it should never be everything to you. So don't let it, affect how you view yourself and just continue to, work hard and use it as a chip. Hey, maybe you're ranked number 2 and you think you should be number 1. Use this as a chip. Like we want everybody to be the best that they can absolutely be in the state of Illinois.
Another thing with that, so when I was in high school, I was ranked by PBR and another publication, and the other publication had me ranked a lot better. So I had some, not beef with PBR, but I was like, these guys, they're wrong. They don't, all it came down to was they just didn't see me as much. And a lot of that comes down to just, we only get to see, these kids a certain amount of times, or maybe we don't see a kid, at all, and he really popped. So a lot of it just comes down to, the circumstances on how often we, have seen a kid, how recently we've seen them, how well we saw them. There's just a lot of different things that go into it, but that was a big one that stood out to me because it's being on the other side of it now. I can totally see why I was ranked here and why they had me ranked here. It's because they saw me way better, more, and they saw me once, and it's we can't confidently put someone way up here when we've only seen it one time, if that makes sense.
I think those are great calls, and especially if that one time, Peter, is when you're playing at Downers Grove South and it's March 22nd and it's 37 degrees.
Pretty close. We were playing Naperville North, actually, Drew.
Okay.
You can go look at the write-up. It was
it's a tough game right there.
Cold, rainy. Yeah, it was tough. We killed them. We killed them, though.
There are so many different factors that go into how we view players, and the looks we get at guys is probably the number one. And I think we've talked in the past just how important it is to see a guy in a smaller showcase setting. You get those verified statistics, but then we also see them at a high school game or at a summer game and see them actually playing the game. But there are so many times where, as an evaluator, you have to know what you are watching when you go to the park. If I go to the park and it's 40 degrees and it's the second week of the season, you can't have the same expectations of seeing a guy in the middle of June. If it's a pitcher, if it's a hitter, if it's an infielder, some of these high school fields with their dirt infields, they're soft, grass that hasn't firmed up yet and balls are spinning every which way. You can watch it in pregame, some of the bounces these balls are taking, even outfielders out there. So, and then, just the volume of looks, because let's face it, at that age, guys are going to be inconsistent. The better players are the more consistent players with, that they're the same guy every time you see them. Those tend to be better players that don't have the swings and the up and downs that other guys may do. But Tyler, to your point, I could not, agree more. It's simply a number. It's simply an indicator of, and we're one publication. We are one organization, and there are so many schools out there, and everybody, likes different things. I mean, everybody likes left-handers that throw 100, but everybody does have their little sweet tooths, and you may kind of stand out to somebody and maybe don't stand out to somebody else. So just understand, I think, too, with that being said, who are you as a baseball player? I think knowing who you are as a player is huge. We see it in BP, and it's probably become more prevalent than ever. These guys that are built, and I'll just say maybe undersized for their age, have not fully matured, and they're hitting like Aaron Judge. They're hitting like a guy that is, really physical and 6'3" and 220 pounds who does have a ton of pop. And it's like, no, you have to understand you are that undersized guy. So what is it gonna, what do you have to do to be a successful hitter if you don't have the same power? Well, can you have a better approach? Can you be more on a line? Can you make better swing decisions? Can you swing with less effort? There's so many different things that, go with it, because players come in all shapes and sizes. What makes Tyler good, is different than what made Peter good as a pitcher, and Gavin good as a pitcher, and, myself as a position guy. So understanding who that is, like if you don't have a premium arm across the infield, it doesn't mean you can't play infield. But you better have a quicker release maybe than somebody that has a big arm. You better be really accurate. You better be able to charge the baseball, know the runner, have IQ. There's so many things that go with it, but understand who you are as a player and don't try to be somebody you're not. Like that to me is a turnoff. When I see these, maybe it's a little lefty in a BP setting and every swing he's finishing on his backside and every ball's lifted, into shallow center field, and yeah, they may be on the barrel, but it's an F8. Versus those little. I'm gonna throw a comp out here, like Wyatt Waro. Like he is not a physical guy, but he's got all kinds of whip and bat speed, and the ball comes off his bat really good. But he doesn't approach his hitting as a power guy. He is a spray it all over the yard. I'm not gonna swing and miss. I'm gonna be the biggest pest out there, and I'm gonna be a hard out. And guess what? Like he'll occasionally, show off some sneaky pull side juice, but it's not his intention. I mean, you guys get me talking about rankings, get me talking about players. I can go on and on and on.
Well, Drew,
yeah.
that reminded me of Owen Murphy, how we just had him on. He was pitching like he was throwing 82. Like he needed all of his pitches, like he needed to hit a spot no matter what. Like it didn't matter that he was throwing 96. He knew who he was as a pitcher, and that was a competitor, someone that was going to mix it up, change speeds. Didn't matter who was against. He just happened to throw 96, and now he's in, single A, double A?
What I love about that is anybody, you don't have to have Owen Murphy's talent to have Owen Murphy's makeup and mindset. If you are a guy that throws 82, 84, be the best freaking 82, 84 pitcher you can be. Learn a secondary pitch that you can throw in any count. Learn how to command the fastball to both sides of the plate. Work in your short boxes. Have, crazy intent in every workout you do, in every pregame that you have. Like, be as consistent as possible. But I agree. That's what is so awesome to hear Owen Murphy talk like that, because he does have the talent and he has the makeup. And we said it on the pod, like, that's the total package.
Yeah. I mean, guys that...
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry to cut you off. Guys that can get outs and pitch at, 82, that's like a gold mine. That's, scary in a way. It's like you just get them in the weight room or get them with a little bit of velo, and then you don't know what you got. They're going to take off. So guys that can compete and get outs while maybe not having, the sexiest or flashiest stuff, those are guys you want to keep an eye on for sure.
And with this,
yeah.
Sorry, Drew, go ahead.
No, I'd love get in there, Gav.
Because of the time constraint, we had to interview Skylar Mead before we actually filmed this part. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I implore you to listen to what he talked about and some stories that he talked about in the interview with him, because he talked about a guy that played Division III baseball, came to Troy and found success. He talked about really, as a pitching guy, liking the guy that's 85, 87 and competes and wins and does it in game, rather than maybe the guy that's 92 to 94 but can't find the strike zone. So I guess with that, if you are ranked 110th, don't be the guy that that's the best you get. Keep getting better, and once you get to college, whether it's JUCO, Division III, Division II, Division I, who cares what your ranking is now? Try and be the best you can be when you are 22, 23, 25, if you get to keep playing that long.
And I'll say this too, 100% we strive for perfection here, but we're human and we get things wrong sometimes. It's not something we, it just happens, right? We get things wrong. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast, but yeah, I think that's a good message, Gav.